The tray clattered against the floor before anyone realized what had happened. Every conversation inside the crowded school cafeteria froze for a heartbeat. Near the serving counter, a trembling teenage boy stood with empty hands while the cafeteria manager glared at him in front of hundreds of students. Just as a man carrying a worn lunch bag stepped through the cafeteria doors, the sharp words echoed across the room, stopping him mid-step. The food wasn't for his son today, because, according to someone in charge, families like theirs always expected charity. In that painful moment, a father's heart broke without anyone noticing. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and compassion still matter in today's world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps us spread stories that remind the world humanity still exists. Ethan Mercer had never imagined life would become so fragile. 3 years earlier, he had owned a small construction business, a comfortable home, and a future filled with plans. Then a distracted driver changed everything. His wife, Claire, never came home from work again. The grief shattered Ethan's spirit, and while he struggled to raise their only son Noah alone, his business slowly collapsed under unpaid contracts and growing debts. Every day became a battle between keeping a roof over their heads and pretending everything was normal for his son. Noah never complained. At 16, he understood more than his father realized. He quietly wore old sneakers, skipped school trips, and insisted he wasn't hungry whenever dinner was too small. Ethan noticed every sacrifice, but the weight of failure made him feel smaller each passing day. He promised himself that one day he would rebuild everything, yet every morning the promise felt further away. That Thursday, Ethan had received an unexpected call from the school counselor asking him to stop by during lunch. She sounded concerned but avoided explaining anything over the phone. Fear immediately filled his mind. Had Noah been hurt? Was he in trouble? Ethan left his temporary warehouse job early, losing half a day's wages, and hurried to the school carrying the homemade sandwich he had prepared for Noah before dawn. As he entered the cafeteria, the first words he heard made his feet refuse to move. The cafeteria supervisor was standing over Noah while dozens of students watched in complete silence. She had taken away his lunch tray after discovering there wasn't enough money in his meal account. Instead of quietly helping him, she spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. She suggested that students should learn responsibility instead of expecting free meals. Every sentence landed like another stone on Noah's shoulders. The teenager lowered his eyes, trying to disappear while classmates stared, some recording the scene with their phones. Ethan's entire body shook. He wasn't angry because they were poor. Poverty had already humbled him long ago. He was devastated because his son, who had already lost his mother and sacrificed so much without complaint, was now being humiliated simply because his father couldn't provide enough. Without raising his voice, Ethan walked forward and gently placed the lunch bag into Noah's hands. His own stomach had been empty since breakfast, but that sandwich was meant for moments exactly like this. The room remained silent. Instead of arguing or creating a scene, Ethan quietly apologized for the unpaid balance and promised it would be settled as soon as possible. His calmness confused everyone. Some students expected shouting. Others expected tears. Instead, they witnessed dignity. Noah tried refusing the sandwich, knowing it was probably his father's only meal, but Ethan simply smiled the tired smile fathers often wear when hiding impossible burdens. Across the cafeteria, the school counselor had witnessed everything. She immediately recognized that something had gone terribly wrong. Within minutes, she contacted the principal, explaining exactly how the situation had unfolded. By afternoon, the story had already spread across the school. Students who barely knew Noah began sharing messages online, not to mock him, but to defend him. Several admitted they had quietly struggled with food insecurity themselves. Teachers shared memories of Noah helping classmates with homework, volunteering after school, and never asking anyone for sympathy despite everything he'd endured. The principal reviewed security footage before speaking privately with Ethan. He apologized sincerely, admitting the school's procedures had failed the very children they were supposed to protect. No family should experience public embarrassment over something as basic as lunch. Ethan accepted the apology with grace. He wasn't interested in revenge. The following week, something remarkable happened. Students organized a kindness campaign called Empty Plates No More. Instead of collecting money for sports equipment or dances, they raised funds to erase unpaid cafeteria balances for every struggling family in the district. Parents, teachers, local businesses, and even former graduates joined the effort. Within days, every outstanding lunch debt had disappeared. A local bakery donated fresh bread every morning. Farmers began supplying fruit. Volunteers quietly packed weekend meal boxes for children who might otherwise go hungry. But the greatest surprise came several weeks later. One of the business owners who donated to the campaign happened to recognize Ethan from years earlier. He remembered Ethan's honesty during construction projects before tragedy struck his family. Rather than offering charity, he offered something Ethan valued far more: a full-time position managing community renovation projects with stable pay and health benefits. For the first time in years, Ethan felt hope instead of survival. Months passed. The apartment slowly became brighter. Bills stopped piling up. Noah smiled more often. They started eating dinner together every evening instead of worrying whether there would be enough food tomorrow. Healing didn't happen overnight, but every small victory reminded them that life could begin again. One afternoon, the principal invited Ethan and Noah back to the cafeteria for a special assembly. This time the room looked completely different. Students filled every table, but instead of whispers there was warm applause. A new community pantry stood near the entrance, available to any family in need without questions or judgment. A simple sign hung above it: kindness feeds everyone. The principal thanked Ethan for responding with dignity instead of anger. He admitted that one father's quiet strength had inspired an entire community to rethink what compassion truly meant. Policies were changed so no student would ever again be publicly denied a meal because of financial hardship. Ethan looked around the cafeteria, remembering the heartbreaking silence from months before. Now that same room overflowed with hope. He realized something important. His greatest gift to Noah had never been money, expensive clothes, or a perfect life. It was teaching him that even when people treat you unfairly, your character is something no one can ever take away. Noah eventually graduated with honors, earning a scholarship to study social work. Inspired by his own experience, he promised himself he would spend his life helping families facing struggles similar to theirs. The humiliation that once nearly broke him became the reason countless others would find hope. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Every act of support helps us share more stories that inspire compassion around the world. Special request: before this story ends, please comment, "Kindness costs nothing," if you believe no child should ever be shamed for being poor.